Welcome to The Connection Code, a podcast where we explore the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
I'm Jeana Anderson Cohen, and I've spent more than 13 years building a business that tricks adults into making friends through fitness, a sweat life, and I'm building a social events and gathering space in New Buffalo, Michigan called Petite Acres. I'm pretty obsessed with friendship and gathering.
And I'm Rachel Rachel. I run a PR firm called 3PR that is focused on healthy food brands. I love helping people snack and eat well, but I'm also equally fixated on helping people make great connections and the power of introductions. So, Jeana, do you want to tackle today's big question?
I absolutely do. I'm very excited for today's big question, and I think we can call it the theme safely, the theme of the episode. So, Rachel, my big question is around joy being a nutrient in your life, which is today's guest mantra. How can we use it to feed our friendships and strengthen our connection? So, I want to know how you seek joy through your connections, Rachel.
I actually had to sit with this one for a second because I sometimes think that there's an absence of joy in my life. And that doesn't mean I'm unhappy, and that doesn't mean I'm not enjoying my life. But I think I get very caught up in the never ending to-do list and being very task oriented and feeling as though just getting through each day and accomplishing all the things is the focal point. And then this idea of joy seems up there with vacation or something that's a nice to have but not a must have, which really, as we dive into in this wonderful interview, is the exact wrong mindset. Joy should be central. Joy should not be a special occasion. But I had heard of this quote and then I wanted to go find it and who said it. So apparently there is a book called Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. And the quote that got stuck in my brain was that the cure to burnout is not rest. The cure to burnout is fun. And I love this idea that what we don't really need is like a day to wallow in bed or to have nothing on our plate. To really feel refreshed and recharged is to go do things that are energy giving and fun and exciting and joyful. And that's probably something that I could prioritize a little bit more. I think you are maybe more of a joy includer than I am. I feel like you do a better job. So how does it play out in your relationships in your life?
Well, first of all, the thing you just said about burnout, I absolutely 100% agree with. I can accurately predict my burnout cycle by how much I am incorporating my fun habits and my play habits into my life. So I know right now I'm not doing all of my fun, play, and wellness habits. I'm kind of down to the bare minimum, keep myself alive and move my body habits. So that makes a ton of sense to me. That said, there is a book that DJ gets so close to quoting.
We haven't talked about who DJ is yet.
Our guest today is DJ Blatner. She is a registered dietitian. She is a sports dietitian. She worked for the Cubs. She has written 2 incredible books, one of them being a top-rated every year diet book, but it is not like your run-of-the-mill diet book. It is the Flexitarian diet, which is all about making your life fit and being flexible. And I love it. And we love her. Anything else?
You were going to talk about another book, though. You were referencing a book, and then I wanted to make sure that we got Dawn in there.
Well, one other book she's written, too, is My Superfood Swap. The Superfood Swap is her second book. She references her acronym from the book. I am certain that she's going to write more books in her life, and I would suffice to guess that one of them will be about joy, but we'll see. The book I was going to reference is a book that's actually, it's called Play. There's a subtitle. Absolutely. I'll link to it in the show notes, but it is about how adults, first of all, it leads with the theory that adults forget how to play. And then second of all, it posits that playing is actually central to our neuroplasticity, to our brains, to our happiness, and to our health. So adding in novelty, adding in fun is help. To Dawn's point, it is a nutrient, this joy, this fun. So it's another good read. But I think about play, I think about joy, I think about novelty a lot when I'm thinking about adding joy into my life and my friendships. Because even when I think about a plan with a friend, I will usually opt to try something new or to take a new route if we're taking a walk, because I like the experience of being able to experience something new with a friend and talk about it.
I think that's so wise because it's very easy, and I say this thinking of my own habits, to just do something that's well worn and comfortable. But then you're right, it doesn't feel memorable. If you go to the same dinner spot all the time, or you take the same walking route, or you go to the same coffee shop, it is familiar and easy, but you're not introducing novelty and you don't have any new memory of the occasion because it just blends with all the others. Oh,
May I?
this changes my show and tell. I'm doing a different one at the end of the podcast.
Ooh, exciting.
Ooh, yes.
There's another book, actually, Rachel. Actually, I should say, like, a researcher who's written a number of books. Her name is Laura Vanderkam. If you haven't read anything by her, she researches time, which is as a construct, which is wild to think about, and the way our brains process time. So one of the things that she found that really sticks with me is that our brains compress time if there's not novelty in it. So if you're doing the same thing roughly every day for 2 weeks, you'll be like, why did those 2 weeks fly by? It's because your brain just took care of it for you and smushed it together into a zip file. So you don't have to do the work of remembering it. And so when you're doing new things, your brain like flags it as a new memory. And so your life will feel more vibrant and memorable.
Oh, that's a great point. I don't want my life to be a zip file of rinse and repeat days. I want it to feel special and unique. So that's a great point. And speaking of special and unique, Dawn, our guest, is that in spades. She, if you don't see the video, is wearing a neon top and pink lipstick and has a disco ball and very vivid wallpaper behind her. And she's just a visual delight.
And by the way, that's her everyday garb.
Yeah, that wasn't unique for us. Yes.
Yeah. And here we are with DJ Blatner. We are here with DJ Blatner. She is honestly everyone's favorite ray of sunshine. But just before we started rolling, Rachel actually asked a question I think we should just start with. Rachel, ask it.
Okay, so I love Dawn for many reasons, but as I'm staring at her gorgeous face and vibrant ensemble, I'm like, why does your skin look so good?
It's the food.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And may I say that I brought a prop before we even get into questions, and that is a disco ball. I thought I want to set the vibe right, and I want to set it quick. It's like, this is where we're up to. This is what we're up to. Okay, so in all seriousness, thank you for having me, and thanks for the question about the skincare. I appreciate you saying it. You know what I would say is I started wearing a hat a lot because I got the thing with the dermatologist saying, you could spend all this money on all these laser treatments, which I have. I've done laser treatments called Tighten Bright. A tightening paste to keep my skin tight, bright to get rid of like different colors on my skin. So get rid of freckles I thought they were freckles, and the dermatologist said, yeah, girl, they're freckles when you're 9. They're age spots when you're your age.
That's so a horrible rebranding.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I thought those were freckles. He's like, those ain't freckles, girl. So anyway, Tighten Bright, I've done this, but I really do think the biggest thing was when then he told me, he said, listen, you got to stop being in the sun, at least your face. So I've been wearing hats like all the time when I'm roller skating, jump roping, pickleballing, hot girl walking, whatever I'm doing, I'm always trying to wear a hat. And I think that honestly has helped me a lot because I have a lot less sun damage.
Well, you look glowing and gorgeous.
Yeah. And honestly, you've teed up the theme of today, the big question of today. DJ, all of the workouts, the activities, the movement types you just named are really like fun, filled with joy. You say that joy is a nutrient in your own life. Can you sort of share where that came from and how joy plays into your life in big ways now?
Yeah. Hey, thank you for that. Because I will say I do love movement. Movement is medicine. And I do try and seek things that are joyful in work, in life, everything. That's not always been the case. So I do feel like if somebody is like on a, pulpit, like I am, like, joy, be so joyful, joy. Something happened to that person that they've got to be talking about joy all the time. And for me, it was really hitting a rock bottom where I was on a call with somebody who was saying, oh my gosh, I love your life. I love everything you've accomplished. I want to be you. Give me all the secrets and tips. And I was talking and giving some, ideas and some suggestions and some advice. I got off the phone, hung up, dropped to the ground, could not stop crying. Hours. I was just crying. I created a life that looked amazing from the outside, and it felt horrible to live. And so I then contacted a coach. I only knew like one possible resource. And this was like a coach. I was like a career coach. And I said, I don't know if you do this work, but I want to hire you to create more joy in my job. I got into this field because I thought it would be fun, and I've done nothing but unfun it. I know how to unfun things by making it super competitive, by making it super stressful, by, being a perfectionist about things. And so I spent a lot of money, time, effort, pain, tear, joy, love, creating joy in my life on purpose. And come to find out that joy, it's not a mindset, it's a skill set. And you can practice things on purpose to have more joy in your life. And so that is why I'm always talking about it. It's because something I actively practice, because my default would not be neon is a neutral, neon is my lifestyle, bejazzle, begems, disco balls. Those are all like practical things that I do on purpose.
Wow. I love that you went right into the deep end, because I wanted to talk about how you made this pivot from having sort of the before times to the joy infused times. Just to set the stage a little bit, what was your career like beforehand? What were you doing? Clearly people were coveting what it looked like, but what was that truly?
Yeah. So as a registered dietitian nutritionist that works in the media and sports, that is my background. I am doing the same exact things that I was doing when I was burned out and miserable, but I'm doing them from a different internal place. So, it's writing books, it's being on TV, it's doing interviews for magazines, it's all of those things. And I just used to do them as outcomes. I was like, how many notches in my belt? How much more can I achieve? What's next? More, outcome. And I wouldn't be happy unless it was that fleeting 2 seconds where I accomplished the thing. And then I said, what have you done for me lately, girl? Get going, put your head down and keep moving. And so it was just this outcomes oriented life that I had created. Now I do all the same stuff, except the big difference is enjoying the process. So I wake up and I show up, I do the work in front of me with enthusiasm, and I just stay open to opportunities around me. I am not trying to do it for outcome. I am not only happy when I'm done with something. I'm trying to infuse happiness, joy, fun into the actual regular Tuesday of, doing a slide deck, something like that.
I remember
it's reminding me of that Mad Men quote. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeana. I got so excited because I remembered a quote, which I never do. But I think it was the Don Draper quote that happiness is just the moment before you want more happiness. And it can be a dangerous cycle if you're just chasing ephemeral moments and then you need that hit, that dopamine hit all over again. So I'm just really impressed. And I think it's so thoughtful to say, I'm not going to do things for the end result. I'm going to do them for the process. And goddamn it, I'm going to like that process.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's not every single thing that I'm enjoying. I have something on my phone that pops up at random times that says, are you having fun? Are you having fun? And I'll be like, shut up. I'm in the middle of laundry, or like, shut up. I'm having a hard time, doing this slide deck that is becoming so boring or whatever. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not having fun. I need to think about how can I add 5% more joy to this, because it's easy to do. You can add 5% more joy to something. And all of a sudden, guess what? The outcome is so much better for everyone when you are enjoying the process, not just for me, but for everybody who gets to see that slide deck.
And so what I remember so vividly, DJ, is meeting you when you were on this panel for self. I think I was like a year in to A Sweat Life, so probably 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And you were on this panel. Susan Rothman was on this panel. And I remember you sort of alluding to this joy theory, this beginning seed. Was it around that time or shortly thereafter that you sort of redid your website and made this ethos very well known?
You are probably right on. It was so we're 2025. So about 2012 is when the rock bottom crying happened, where I was like, I need to call someone. I need SOS. I need to fun up my life. So it probably was right around there that I was dabbling in it. I fought it for a long time because I do feel there is this secret judgment I have when people are very like joyful. I think they must be dumb. Like, why are you so happy? Don't you know? Like, things are hard, like, I don't know. I was fighting it, and like happy people can't be successful, and happy people aren't serious about their work and about, accomplishing things. And so I was probably on that panel alluding to it lightly because I was still fighting it. Like this coach, I was always like, you don't understand how success happens. I've got to multitask and do all these things. And she's like, well, why don't we just test out what it's like to single task and do something with a little bit more hot pink, And I'm like, okay, let's try that. So yes, this has been a work in progress. And I've been owning it a little bit more, a little bit less ashamed of it. Honestly, it was sort of this like thing I didn't really want people to know because I personally judged it so much as being silly.
Can I keep going with this? Because I think it is so admirable, and it gives me a lot of fodder. Yes. So when people in general tend to make very big life shifts, it can have all these ripple effects into their family and friend ecosystems. And sometimes it's hard for people to accept somebody making a big, bold shift in a new direction. So I feel like you're that version of the movie Welcome to Pleasantville, where everything was maybe black and white, and then you like had the awakening, and then everything's Technicolor. So how did that land for people in your life, and how did it change your relationships?
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I will say. It was a lot more slow going than black and white to living in color. It really was a lot more slow going. Not only like wardrobe wise, like, it was one pair of hot pink pants in a sea of, Banana Republic beige. Like that's literally also how my mindset was. It was like one new bright thought that I would practice, or one new strategy. And so I don't know that it happened so quickly that people were even super aware of it around me. But what did happen is a lot of opportunities started opening up to me. I became more of a magnet for things as opposed to feeling like I was chasing things. Things were coming to me. And so Jeana had asked something interesting. It's like, oh, when you redid your website. So it was like around this time that I was like, all right, I'm gonna open up and like start showing people a little bit more of me and who I'm becoming. And I redid my website to not be the typical dietitian website, like holding a cucumber in the kitchen or chopping an apple, like all those things. I wore my favorite hot pink dress. I stood in the middle of the street in Chicago. I was like owning my, fun of fashion and like all this stuff. And dietitian friends of mine said, you know what? You're making a huge mistake. How are people ever going to know you're a dietitian if you're not in a kitchen or you're not holding an apple? Like you are really being confusing to people like that. I would not do that. And so I said, well, you know what? I'm having fun, and fun is now my new compass. Joy is my compass. I'm going to do it this way. And sure frickin' enough, I have this website up for not that long, and I get recruited to be on a reality television show on national TV because of the website that I created. Because the producer who had me audition for the show said, man, you sort of seemed fun on that website, and I wanted to get to know you. And I was like, oh my gosh, authenticity, but also like leading with fun and not strategy has become my new mantra. So it's like, is any of this strategic? No, it is not. Is all of it fun? That's where I'm headed. That's what I'm trying to be. So I think what really happened with my relationships a lot is a lot of people said, hey, can I have that number of the coach? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, where are you getting your clothes? It's like, hey, there was a lot of not resistance. There was actually a lot of questions and a lot of like, hey, I might want some of that. Don't gatekeep, girl.
Where are you getting your fun?
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. I mean, things are hard. Not everything is rose colored. So it's like, how do you find that stuff? How do you find a little bit of fun?
I also think you were differentiating in a really early adopter way. I feel like today we talk a lot about the brand and the visuals and the way you put yourself up to the world. And all three of us are entrepreneurs. And so it's very important how we brand ourselves and our businesses. But what you were doing, I feel like, was very ahead of the curve of saying, I'm colorful, I'm bright, I'm fun, I'm joy-filled, and I don't need to follow a template. And then the people who at first were so skeptical actually had to maybe eat their words and be like, wait a minute, this really worked for you, because now you don't seem like a me too. You seem like one of one.
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. And that whole like authentic thing, I feel like it gets tossed around a lot, but it's like, I try and do things that light me up. I don't and it's like, oh, is that authentic? I don't know. I just like it. So that maybe that is, the secret is just like, it's not that hard. It's just doing things that you like. Like, for example, when you emailed or texted or DM'd or however you contacted me to do this was such
So
an
many
easy
ways.
hell yes. There's so many ways to contact each other.
Yeah.
But this was such an easy hell yes for me. And like, that's really, when opportunities are all around us, it's like, what do you say yes to? And it's, I have a whole system, but really the first easiest thing is if this is an easy hell yes, well, then it's a yes. I don't say that's the only thing that I do. That's the first sort of system. But then sometimes some opportunities come and they don't sound that good. But I do want to be doing more of that in my life. So I'm like, I don't want to go speak on ethics for this dietitian conference. That sounds incredibly boring. But I do want people to see me more as a public speaker. So this is not a hell yes, but I do want to do more of this in my life. So is there any way I could make this opportunity more awesome? And so I'm like, okay, think about it. I could go back to her and say, I don't want to speak on ethics, but I would like to talk about personal branding and the power of that. And sure enough, they come back and they say, oh my God, we love that topic. Go ahead and do it. So, I love to follow the hell yes, but that's not my only thing. Sometimes you can make some pretty so icky opportunities become a hell yes with some creativity and just asking.
Yeah. I want to talk about food eventually, but first I want to talk about friendship, because we are on the connection code. And Rachel and I both love being around you. And I'm certain that everyone else in your life loves being around you. So with this sort of new compass for joy, how did it sort of help you attract the sort of people that you wanted to both be friends with and connect with in your professional life?
Yeah. So the connection code. I mean, here we are. Let's
Yes.
dive into connection.
Which you named, by the way. A huge thank you, because I think we were emailing and you were like, hey, Rachel, you should write a book and you should call it The Connection Code. And I was like, hold on the book. Jeana, what if we named our podcast?
I love that. Well, thank you for the credit. I appreciate it. It is something that comes to me. People get downloads about different things. I tend to get a lot of downloads for what people should write books on. I wish that I had more personal downloads of what I should be doing, but I seem to get a lot of downloads for other people's like books and projects. But yeah, so in terms of like connection, I have a mixed feeling a lot about how people think about connection. And for me, it's one of those things where I have experienced personally a lot of people connecting to get something out of me, like a connection for an outcome. Well, we just heard, like, my whole life is like now trying to not be outcomes oriented and trying to be about the process. So for me, like, first off, like, the word connection is definitely not about the outcome. Who can I meet to get this outcome? Ick. Like, talk about, you get icks from guys or whatever. Like, that to me is like a major ick, is trying to seek connection for outcomes. I prefer the sort of like I am with a goal setter. I'm not a goal setter, like I'm a joy seeker. And that's how I go about connections as well, is that I want to go to places that are fun. I want to be around people who are fun to be around, and not 100% of the time. We all, I mean, let's point out, also fun people are those that have, a couple of screws loose, and are a little wackadoodle and whatever. I'm not saying fun as like always upbeat. I give me the drama too. I love reality TV when it's real even. So like, it doesn't have to be all upbeat fun. It could be crazy fun too. Sad fun, miserable fun, sharing in horrible things together. Like, I love all that, but I do it with this idea of enjoying the process of it without needing to have an outcome of how I seek various friendships or how I seek various connections.
I think it's interesting because you and I were in touch with this. I think I was trying to connect you with somebody that I thought you would like. And is it okay if I mention this?
Yeah. Yes.
And I feel like you were a little reticent. And I was like, oh, help me understand why maybe you wouldn't want to be connected. And you were so, do you remember this? You
Of
had
course
such an
I do.
interesting, you had such an
Yes.
interesting lens, which was I think being primed that people often want things from you. And I wasn't being maybe as sensitive to that experience that because you're a public figure and you have a lot going on, people are often like, I want from Dawn versus how can we support each other? And nobody wants a transaction. But secondly, which was so funny to me, you're like, I love meeting people in person. If I'm in a room or I'm at a party, like super friendly, totally into it, but I do not want an email introduction. Like it gave you such a version. And I was like, oh, I live in the world of email introductions, but it was helpful to understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. So do you want to dive into that? Like how you feel about being introduced to people and when your energy sparks?
Yes. So, yes, this is exactly why we started talking about it. And I was like, you have such a fresh perspective. You should write a book. And that's how we came up with talking about this. Because, yes, I'm all about, friendship, not, this idea of contacts. I'm not going to grow my contact list. I'm going to grow friendships. I'm not going to go network. I'm just trying to make friends with people who have energy that sparks me, and that we like each other and chat or whatever. And so that authentic piece, I lose it when it is on email, I guess. And so you opened my eyes to saying, hey, listen, this is just like being at a party. But I happen to be just emailing you this person's information because I'm like, oh, I think you guys should meet. As if, like if we were at a party and you just pulled me over to some woman that you wanted to have me meet, and with no outcome on your mind, with no agenda, just with pure heart and fun. But I didn't get that. Like so many times those emails come in cold and it's like, I'd like to pick your brain. And I'm like, wow, what a fun, one-sided, vulture-esque thing. And anytime somebody says that to me, I say, hey, would you mind rephrasing that? Because it hurts my feelings when I feel used and picked. And so, if you want to brainstorm together, if you want to, joy set together, if you want to, chat about something, okay, oh, that's great. But yeah, I think you opened my eyes to see that in this modern technology world that we are in, that there can be authentic meetings that aren't necessarily always have to be in person to be in flow and natural and authentic and sweet and friendship oriented.
Yes. And I think it's all in the framing and the intention. Whether somebody pops in your inbox because they're saying, I'd really love to get your advice because I want a career that's just like yours. Already you feel on the hook to do something for somebody else. But on the flip side, I think if somebody you trust and like says, I'd really love to introduce you to somebody because I feel like you'd click and maybe something happens. Maybe it's just a great coffee. Who knows? That might feel a lot more appealing because there's like a potential friendship behind that door or something great that could transpire simply because there's no ask involved. It's much more opportunity versus I need to elicit something from you.
Yeah, I like that. And what I like about that is that little sense of magic. Like I love the idea of like, there's not like, okay, I'm working on this project and I know in 2022, you've also worked on this project and there's synergies here. And it's like, let's loop around and let's circle back or whatever. I'm like, dude, I am so not interested in your corporate weird stuff. But here's what I am interested in. Let's get together and see what kind of magical things happen. And, like it's one of my favorite things is to talk to people I don't know with no agenda. Like, for example, just this morning, my most recent connection of things, I was walking downstairs and I was like, oh my God, look at that cute dog. Cutest dog, sweet, tiny little baby dog. And I was like, and the owner she was pretty cute too. So I was like, hey, I was like, how are you? I was like, tell me about your puppy. It's Stanley. And I was like, oh my God, I love the name Stan, but Stanley when he's in trouble, like how great. He's 8 weeks old. She lives in the building. Her name is Melanie. And it's like, I have no agenda with her. I am just so excited to meet somebody has the love of a new puppy and bright shiny eyes and out there trying to acclimate and be a good mommy. And like it's just I have that is true joy for me. It's like those types of connections. So I don't even know if I'm going to see Melanie again, but if I do, I'm going to try very hard. I have it in my phone, her name, her dog's name. I'm going to try very hard to use it and find her and see her. And for no reason other than, she's and her puppy spark joy.
Shout out to Melanie. If you're listening to this, Melanie, you've got a friend in DJ. You made quite the impression, Melanie and Stanley. I also think, DJ, going back to sort of your reticence around some connections that are coming at you cold, you, to Rachel's point, like, you are a public figure. Like, people could see you on GMA. People could see you on these national platforms. You have a #1 diet book. So you are, ooh, and the disco ball just happened to fly.
Say it again. I was starting to notice like all the light ricocheting. I was like, oh, maybe I should put that away. Okay.
We're having a mirror ball moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for you, there might be more of this, like, I want to be you happening than like the average bear. So I can understand it.
Yes, I do think that they're working in the media, and at various times in my life, it's a lot of media and very big media, and other times, it's ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm, not the, national TV every second of the day. So it ebbs and flows, but I will say, by and large, I've been in the same business for a lot of years, and I can see why people would want to connect. And I want to help people. It's not that I don't want to help people. It's just that sometimes, you can feel used and yucky. And so I think I'm a little protective because I feel sort of used and yucky. But I do definitely have a new take on this since talking to Rachel about it, this idea of trusting the person who's making this introduction, and they're just doing it because it's like, oh my God, this girl wears neon all the time. You wear neon all the time. You guys should get together. Or like, oh my gosh, she's always talking about this. You're always talking about this. Why don't you guys have coffee? Who knows what kind of magic can happen? I love the unknown of what connection can do. Like, that to me is huge. Like, you never know what it is if you go in with that heart that's just super open.
Yes, this literally happened to me today. So I have a friend named Dana Gordon, and she texted me. She's like, I met somebody that you have to meet. And whenever anybody I really like is insistent, I want to see it through. So in my inbox today, she connected me with this other woman that she met at a retreat. And she said, you guys are going to have, she used the word magic. You guys are going to have magic happen. She fluffed me up. She fluffed the other woman up. I was like, this is meant to be. Like, there was a kismet connection happening here because Dana feels so strongly and went to bat for both of us to make us look really good in each other's eyes. So I look forward to that. But if this woman who I didn't know popped in my inbox in the way you're describing and said, hey, Rachel, it seems like you've been in PR for a while. I'm having some struggles with the situation. Could I pick your brain on how you would handle this? I would be like, oh, stomach drop. No, don't really want to do that. So you're right. It's the framing, it's the attention, it's all the things. But I do want to pivot to food because there's so many aspects to you that are so wonderful. But I feel like the role of food in your life and the role of food as a love language and a way to bond with people, to way to forge relationships. I just sort of want to like go into that whole direction about how food has helped you build relationships and why it's so important to you that you've dedicated your career to it.
It is, you know what? It is true. I guess it all goes back to magic. Because really, I used to watch like Bewitched and like all the like I Dream of Jeannie and like those shows. I mean, right?
That's a great Halloween costume for you.
Oh, I actually love that. I got to work on that nose, whatever it happened. But yeah, I mean, I used to love those shows. Exactly. I love that. You know all that. But yeah, so these witch shows were great to me. And I loved the sort of idea of magic, Reddit, whatever. And at the same time, like, I was not feeling good. I was following the, no fat diet phase that my family taught me how to eat when I went to college. And I wasn't feeling good. And it came about where I started hanging out in a health food store where I was like, oh my gosh, these people are literally doing magic on themselves. They're taking all these like supplements and potions and different kinds of foods and recipes, and they're literally changing their blood and their organs, and they're literally becoming different people by putting something into their mouth that goes into their body and blood. I was like, this is like the closest thing I will get to witchcraft. I was like, this is amazing. And so for me, nutrition came about because I was feeling like garbage. and I was doing everything my parents taught me to do on how to eat. I didn't know how to feed myself to feel good. And so then I became a dietitian, not because I'm so altruistic, but because I was like, I got to fix me. I got to feel good. And then I felt like I'd be a big jerk if I didn't share, like, this is pretty incredible. Like, my mood has changed. My energy has changed. I mean, I was so like malnourished. My foot broke in my rollerblade when I was like rollerblading in college because I wasn't eating right. And so it's like, wow, you could, age empowered. You could have all this energy. Like, food for me was definitely like a feeling. Like, I love the feeling that I get. But you're right that it is also fun to share it with people, not only like the lessons, but like, eating is definitely way more nourishing when you're doing it with people and in situations that bring you joy. And so, like, for example, I truly believe this as a science-based, evidence-based practitioner, that if you eat a cupcake by yourself, that is going to cause inflammation, is going to be bad, it is horrible sugars, are horrible. And that same cupcake, when eaten at a birthday party of all your friends, with your friends, is the most magical therapeutic cupcake and possible thing you can ingest in your body. Situations and people around food matter, and they matter on a very cellular, optimal health way. And so, yes, food is important, but the people and the situations are as magical, even more so.
I remember, said this combination of words that I'm not going to get perfectly right, but it was like table, chair, fork, basically guidance to eat a meal, like stop standing up or eating at your desk. Do you remember how you phrased it or still phrase it?
Oh yes, table, plate, chair. People act like you need so many things. They talk about, you've got to be mindful eating. I'm like, girl, all you need is a table, plate, chair. And if you've got those things, you are well ahead of everybody else, because you're not sitting at your desk working with a computer. You're at a table with a plate and a chair. You're not standing in the fridge eating stuff randomly out of there. You're not at a party, hovering around the thing and just shoving anxiety provoked food in your mouth. You mean it. And it's mindful eating, but with, just being very, very practical about it. Table, plate, chair.
That's such a good point. And I actually am looking back with dismay about how many lunches when I worked in an office, everybody ate at their desk. It was a horrible norm. But I also think that the beauty of communal eating is food memories, and that you can tie experiences and food together. So when you think of a certain place or food or something, it conjures up all of these really wonderful feelings, like, oh, that time in Italy we had this pasta and we were sitting here, or we had this family dinner and my mom made this dish. So there's a lot that is tethered to food memory and feeling. Do you have favorite food memories? Like, are there things that you try to capture?
Oh my gosh. I have so many, a lot of sentimental things. Like, my husband's parents are deceased. They're gone. And a lot of times on their anniversaries, we'll like make something that reminds us of them. So like his mom used to like beer with ice and mastacholi. So we'll like do that in her memory. Or my grandma who's passed, like oh my God, I used to visit her and she would make like this big like pork loin with like carrots and things. So when I got off the airplane, I would have like a big pork loin and carrot and onion and potato meal. And so like I think about her and I eat that. Or like chocolate covered bananas. My grandpa used to make those for me all the time. So a lot of food memories for me are like to be memories of people that have passed, which is an interesting thing. But you're absolutely right. Like, yes, I mean, do I love hot dogs at a Cubs game? And again, the hot dog by yourself, bad news, people. But hot dog at a Cubs game, that is going to be a health food. So I do love those like food memories like that. But it's interesting. I never really thought about it as much as how much I have when it's like I'm connecting with memories of people.
That is an interesting avenue because you can honor them.
Yeah. And as you were talking through that, DJ, I honestly like almost started crying because I thought of my grandma's green bean casserole. Like, it's not unique, but it's just like the memory of it. And like my family remade it together last year. She always made it for Christmas or Thanksgiving. And it was so magical to revisit that memory.
Yeah. Yes. So I never really put this all together that's so I'm basically always honoring dead people with the food at all times. But, I do have a robust relationship with many people who have passed. So this is probably no surprise.
A lot of magic coming up in this conversation.
Yes. I love it. I do feel like that makes life a little bit more interesting. Living in the flow, part of the work that I did with my coach years ago was a big trigger for me was what's next? So you've done all these things. What's next? The minute I hear that, I literally I'm like sweating. I'm like, oh my God, what is next? I'm miserable. What am I doing? Like, oh, I'm like, wait a second. That's a trigger. I don't take the bait anymore. And I'm always like, listen, I don't know what's next, but here's what I can tell you is I'm going to show up. I'm going to do whatever is in front of me with enthusiasm, whether that is making a new friend on the street or whether that's doing a email that to somebody, whatever it is, I'm going to do whatever is in front of me with enthusiasm. I'm just going to stay open to the opportunities. And to me, that is like where the biggest things happen and the coolest people you meet and everything. It's not something you've ever set out to do. It's just your inflow of the universe and it happens.
Yes. When you said joy is not a mindset, it's a skill set, I was like, oh, this is something really powerful to explore because it feels like you could build a muscle versus trying to convince yourself or fool yourself into thinking, I'm happy. I just have to like mentally tell myself I'm happy. So how do you practice the skill set and what reps did you do? What are the joy tools you employ?
Thanks for asking, because this is, I'm in all seriousness, as much as I like to talk about the joy and magic of the universe, I am a very pragmatic, science-based person. So I've taken courses at even Stanford on joy. I have read research articles on joy. I have really studied it to know the tools to practice to gain that muscle. And for me, it's, that whole thing about like, choose joy or whatever, like all that, like I'm like, no, it's just a practice. Just like you go to the gym, this is also a practice. So it's called Joy GPS. It's after reading and studying all of these things, I've created it for myself and I've been sharing it in public arenas and things. Joy GPS is an acronym because I love acronyms. GPS stands for G is gratitude. But also I added, since reading new research, it's also giving. So each day I do a journal for myself on my phone because I always have my phone in my hand. So I have a journal that I do, not only what am I grateful for, and I do not big things anymore, just like little things, like that, that my shower stays warm for a long time. Like, how awesome is that? Like, this is great. So gratitude, not for necessarily huge things all the time, little things that I'm grateful for. But then the other G from research is giving, that joy is not just in being grateful for what you have, but it is that you've given something. So, for me, that's, again, doesn't have to be this huge thing. Like I've donated $100 million to my, no, I gave that girl on the street today, like a real high five for being a great mommy to her 8-week-old dog. And like, that to me was like a giving moment. Like I could have easily been stressed out of all the due dates I have and just rushed inside and had my headphones on and forgot to pick my head up and look at life and see the little joys. So it's like, okay, so that's a giving. So GPS, gratitude and giving. And then the P is play, is we are adults and we forget to play. Anything that's playful, I try and think, what did I do today that was a little bit playful? And then the S is self-care. So you can't be me and in my nutrition field and wellness field without knowing for real how you treat your human body impacts how you show up in the world. Are you sleeping? Are you exercising? Are you drinking water? Are you eating your fruits and vegetables? All that stuff is so like ridiculously boring and people are like, oh, good. But listen, it is the magic that turns your energy on. Like if you want to have a computer that works, you've got to recharge it. You're a human being. You've got to do the work to recharge it. So for me, you cannot be joyful without self-care. And you don't have to be perfect with it. Same thing with play. You don't have to be sitting there, I'm the most playful person in the universe. Look at me doing all these playful things. No, it doesn't have to be big things. You don't have to be giving big things. You don't have to be grateful about things. Little tiny little things in a journal every day that you push yourself to do GPS. And you start spotting it. It starts becoming easier for you to do because you've been practicing it.
I am trying to memorize this as you speak.
Yes. Well, that's why I like an acronym, GPS. Gratitude and giving, play, and self-care. That's really, those are the things, those are the muscles to practice. And you don't have to do them all every single day either. Some days I'm like, you know what? I didn't have any play. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to, put on my roller skates for 5 minutes or whatever. But like, I'm not perfect with them every day. And sometimes it's really hard for me to find a gratitude thing. And sometimes it's really hard for me to figure out like, is my self-care anything? Like, it's been kind of trash today, but it doesn't matter. Good job, girl, for even caring about it. And tomorrow is a new day.
You thought about it. You do love an acronym?
I thought about it.
Acronym? Yes. I remember when you taught me the 4 F's of pooping. Yes. It's my favorite. If you want to share it.
So let's think. What are they? The 4 F's of digestion would be fitness, fiber, fluids, and friendly bacteria. Good, like good bacteria. But yeah, I mean, I've made so many acronyms in my life. My newest book, Superfood Swap, is CRAP, C-R-A-P. It's how to determine if something is highly processed, that you look at the ingredient list, and if you see chemicals that you can't pronounce, refined sugar and flour, the white stuff, A is artificial, sweeteners, flavors, colors, and P, preservatives. If you see a lot of the CRAP in an ingredient list, that's a red flag that's a ultra processed food. And you could do better, baby. It doesn't mean you have to avoid it, but you could do better. But I mean, I got a million of them. And I sit all day basically just trying to think of acronyms.
I love an acronym because that's the only thing I can remember, but it was cracking me up because my 6th grade daughter was looking at something and she goes, "Does this have enough protein?" And I was like,
look at that. Talk about, I mean, it's infiltrated everybody. How old is she?
6th grade.
6th grade. Oh my God. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I also love that they're at this really precious and wonderful young girl stage where they want to gain weight and they really want to get enough food in their bodies. And they're asking me, did I eat enough? Do you think I had enough today? Like, it's a really precious and wonderful thing to see them wanting to fuel themselves and to make good choices and to grow. They got my height, so they're really trying to move up. But I just want to support and encourage them, be like, yes, like you can have things that are treats and maybe we need to do it in a way that feels like it's celebratory and fun and like you're eating the food that creates a memory with it, but then also that you're just making not crappy choices.
Well, I mean, we can learn a lot from them. I mean, let's just say, part of my bio and my Instagram these days is joyful nutrition for optimal health. I am no joke about optimal health. Like, I love feeling the energy to do the things I want to do in my life. That's optimal health. And man, does nutrition as a topic need an upgrade? Does it need a glow up? Does it need to be more high vibe? Heck yes. So I am really, choosing to be on a mission to really give a nutrition that high vibe glow up that it needs, to look at it positively. It shouldn't just be 6th graders who think about fueling and growing and eating enough and taking care of ourselves well. It's like, hey, yeah, did we grow up in a diet culture that made us all a little bit screwball? Yes, we did. Yeah. Can we fix it? One thought after another thought, after another thought. Yes, it's just like constantly picking better for you thoughts for a lot of us who have these mixed relationships with, food and our body.
I know, because I think we all grew up around a pretty bad message.
Yes, without insulting anybody's mother.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not our moms. Societally, like we hit a lot of, we hit the no fat, we hit the low carb. Like we just sort of were all victims of bad messaging.
The South Beach, all of it. Mm-hmm. Well, so you're talking about nutrition needing an upgrade. And one of the things that I really love about you, DJ, and the way you talk about food is it being flexible, food being flexible and joy being a part of it. You, in my world, famously made pizza croutons. And I just want to know like how flexible eating allows you to be social with food, allows you to have fun with food. How does it sort of play into your life?
Yes. Okay. So connection code. So we are on this connection code podcast. And I will tell you my first book, which is my baby, and has done such wonders for me, called The Flexitarian Diet, being a flexible vegetarian, flexitarian, has the word flexible in it, and actually came about, I would say the real push for me to do it was when I was traveling abroad for the first time in Portugal. And I was with another dietitian friend who had a diet, it was vegan, and she was in another country and was eating potato chips from a, like a convenience store instead of being at the local restaurants because they had no vegan food. So her diet impacted her not being able to connect with the culture. Her diet impacted her not having a connection, a fabulous meal with me when traveling abroad. Her diet stopped her from enjoying the fullness of life. And I thought, not me. This is not what I'm about. And you know what? So she's vegan. I said, well, I'm a flexible vegetarian. I need to show people that you can stand for optimal health and be flexible and be fun and have friends and have experiences and not have your diet stand in the way of joy. Like, give me a break. And so you're absolutely right. That part of my, genius in the world is that I will not let diet rules ever suck my joy. Like they have in the past. Let's just point that out. But I don't want it to happen to myself anymore, and I don't want it to happen to others.
Rachel, are you ready to have a connection conversation?
I am. I'm just kind of beaming at all of Dawn's wisdom, and I just love it. Yes. Okay. Do you want to dive in, Jeana?
You do it, or I can do it.
Okay.
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want, Rachel?
I'll take number 1, and then you do 2, 3.
Ooh, this is
Dawn. This is hard hitting.
Okay.
I kind of feel like your puppy story might have been our number 1, our journalism. Yeah. But besides your puppy friend, Melanie, what is the last connection you made?
Yeah, I'm going to use that as the example because that really is the last connection I made. So Melanie and her puppy is a connection. And I will say I know you guys asked these questions. I know about the first connection question. And my first instinct was to tell you about a connection for business that got me something. That was my first instinct. My first instinct was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell them the story about how I said yes to an opportunity to speak that was for free, but it sounded so fun. And I did that free speaking, and I put a lot of effort and love and time and crazy amounts of energy into a free gig that I was doing. And out of that, I made a huge connection. And I got a huge job out of it. And I didn't know that I wasn't going to do this free talk for any other reason that I thought it was going to be so darn fun. So I did it out of fun. And from that came this connection of a great job opportunity. So that was my story that I was like, oh, I'm going to tell him that story. And then I was like, suck it. That is the worst. That is what people think connection frickin' is. And it's not frickin' that. The connection is a stranger on the street who had a cute puppy, and I talked to her, and I had the connection, and it was quick. There was no outcome linked to it, and it was joyful, and that's a connection. So I changed my answer to be the puppy on the street because I didn't like that I was thinking connection was about this outcome thing.
Yeah, but you know what?
Business.
Suck it.
I'm gonna yes and you. Okay. I love your Dawn connection, but you sort of did the Dawn thing in the best way possible. You said yes to something, not because of an outcome you expected, but because you thought it would bring you joy. And you said the talk was going to be so fun that you were willing to do it for free. So you held to your principles. You didn't abandon your center. You did the talk. And then the icing on the cake is that you got this great lead out of it. So I actually think it does fit within your ethos. And I want to know what the topic was that was so fun.
Oh, okay. So I agree with you. That's why I thought about it as my first answer, that it is my ethos. But I also really feel like I want to double down that connections don't always have to be work related or have any like glorious story with them. I don't even know if I'll see Melanie and Stanley again, but it was fun while it lasted, So anyway, the talk was, obviously it was called The Joy Hustle, and it was to a bunch of dietitians who are looking for, more joy in their job and how to do more with less burnout. And so it was just 13 principles of business that actually seem like magic, but actually work.
Okay, I actually just had this thought for you. I think that being an RD is like the Trojan horse, but what you're really showing up with is joy downloads. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I like it. I like
it. The Wizard of Oz of this all is that you're here to teach people about joy and living a better life, and the means through which you do this is your food expertise.
Yeah, you know what? It feels like that more and more, especially if I'm using my joy compass of like what I'm saying yes to. Like when people are like, "Hey, come and talk about how many grams of protein we need to eat." I'm like, "Oh God, that sounds tricky." And then if somebody's like, "Hey, come talk about joy hustle and joy," I'm like, "Oh, I'll do that." So you're right. It's like when I do a gig that is more nutrition based, I'm like, and I'm secretly going to throw in joy principles. Yes.
Oh, I love
But
it.
doesn't it kind of make sense because we eating foods in groups, eating things you enjoy, and just like new experiences give us the brain chemicals that allow us to feel connected and allow us to feel like we get serotonin, we get oxytocin, we get I'm blanking on the endorphins from the experiences we have around food, right? So it makes perfect sense that you're packaging food and joy together.
I love it. Well, that's where I came up with that hashtag joy is a nutrient to try and bridge my two worlds that I was like, I feel like I'm talking, two different things. And it's like, to your point, both of you is like, there is some, tie together. And so that's sort of the joy is a nutrient part of my, my new thing.
Okay. So if you were to call up young DJ on the phone and give her one piece of advice on connection from the experience that like still young DJ has today, what would that piece of advice be?
Yes, I appreciate that. Still jovial and glowing.
Dawn is amazing. I love so much about her, but I think what I'm most drawn to, and tell me how you feel, is that she's not one of these people that just was born with this disposition and you're like, oh, they are just always happy. That's just their default setting and they were just born lucky. It's that she put in the work to change the way she moves through the world and she's sharing those tools with other people because we should all be privy to joy. So I think she's really doing something so generous.
I would almost argue that her approach to joy is gritty. It's like, have you
Yes.
read Angela Duckworth, Rachel, and her book Grit?
I was like, if she wrote a book called Grit, I do think I read it. I just don't remember the author's name.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she
No.
Grit
I read Quit, Not Quit. I read
Okay.
Quit, Not Grit, and that is by Annie Duke. Different book.
Okay. I mean, well, when you get a chance, Grit is amazing, but I'll summarize it to you. It's just essentially the habits and the tools that make you more resilient. And I think the way DJ approaches joy is from this angle of resiliency. It's not like she's not toxically positive. She
Yes.
is looking at the world through this lens of like, how do I get the most out of this given the circumstances I am handed? And how do I continue to get more?
Exactly. And by the way, I realized I did this all interview long. I think she now goes by DJ. I met her as Dawn Jackson Blatner. So I forever call her Dawn and you call her DJ, but she is one and the same, a completely unique and wonderful individual that I really think I'm going to be replaying a lot of her perspective and trying to think through this joy GPS. Like, I don't think I've played today. I literally haven't even been outside and it's so beautiful. So this is a great and powerful reminder to leave the house.
And take a different route to your coffee shop. Like that, it's as simple as that.
You're right.
Rachel, let's do show and tell.
Yes. What do you have?
Okay, so I have sort of been waffling over what I want to show and tell today because I've had like some fun experiences over the past little bit. I'm going to start with the fact that my husband and I joined 2 chambers of commerce locally, the Harbor Country Chamber of Commerce and the Southwest Michigan Chamber of Commerce. What a delight.
You're such a grown-up.
I know. So grown up. And we went to this mixer and met a guy who come with me on a journey, Rachel. It's honestly like so many connections along the way. We met this gentleman who was also a member of the chamber and we were sort of talking. We were having like a fine conversation. And then he mentioned, we started talking about making friends. And he mentioned that he had joined Rotary Club in St. Joseph. And I I sort of like openly beamed and started talking about the patron saint of joining things, Robert Putnam, and his book Bowling Alone, which you will hear me talk about till the day I die. And so I'm like, oh my God, that's so interesting to me. Tell me all about it. And he was like, it changed my life. It's a service organization. He's roughly somewhere between our ages. We'll call him our age. So he's volunteering. He's meeting folks of all ages. They have these lovely values. So I looked at my dad when I got home and I was like, because I live with my parents right now. And I invited my dad to go with me because he loves service. It's one of his core values, like serving others, serving his community. He's a retired firefighter. So I was like, would you like to go and see if maybe we want to join? And he said yes. We went to a meeting and it was like a city council meeting, but everybody was excited to be there. Like somewhere between a sorority meeting and a city council meeting. And so my dad and I are joining the Rotary Club.
Oh, I think this is so special because A, father-daughter bonding, but B, finding a way to form new community, make relationships, feel more embedded in your local community. I can just picture you in the conversation with this guy and he says the words Rotary Club and you just get this huge smile on your face and your energy spikes and he was like, I better make this happen.
Yeah. I keep being like, no, don't worry. I'm going to join. I'm a joiner. I'm a joiner. Like I join things. So like
you do, you start things and you join things.
Yeah. I'm a joiner. That's like my new mantra. I am a joiner. Rachel, what's your show and tell?
I was inspired to make a last minute change for the show and tell based on your description at the top about how when we do the same thing over and over again, our memories get compressed. So I went to something last night that was so incredibly memorable and involved connection. And that's what I want to talk about. So we've mentioned quite a few times Tim Hulskamp, who was a guest on the podcast, and he's a really generous connector.
Friend of the pod.
And friend of the pod, he reintroduced me to a guy named Alex Campbell, who I talked to many, many moons ago. Alex started a dinner series called Savor We. And one of the really interesting aspects is it's blending historical buildings in Chicago with meals that match the environment. So I got to go to this private 20-person dinner last night on top of the Tribune Tower, like the very top, that private roof. And they had a special chef there who made a multi-course meal that was all tied back to the history of the Tribune Tower, the architecture, the storytelling, the newspaper, the whole thing. And so it was a perfect magical weather night in Chicago. I walked in really just knowing Tim. Alex and I had only spoken on the phone, but I figured again, like if you're going to this small environment, everyone is there to be nice and everyone is there to chat. So I was able to make some new friends. I got seated next to a TV host I had met once before. She was great. We were talking about how she met her now husband. There's just a lot of really beautiful conversational flow. And a lot of things that we talk about that make an event great were in motion. There was structure. There was a historian, Jeffrey Bear, who was walking through each course and explaining something about history as the food arrived. Then the chef was describing the food. It was very visual. It was plated in a really creative, eye-catching way. And so everybody at the table was brought together to ooh and ah and talk about it. And we all had assigned seats, so you don't have to worry about where were you going to sit at the table. A lot of like generous, subtle things that really helped everybody feel at home and comfortable. And then Alex closed the loop masterfully today, emailed everybody, thanking them for coming, put all of our contact information there, talked about next steps, and just made it so seamless that if people want to continue to be in touch, they can do so. And I met people who run Second City. I met somebody who does community relations for Verizon. There were 2 TV hosts. It was a really stacked table of great people. And I felt very lucky to be invited. But again, it showed me you can walk into a space where you really don't know anybody. And by the end of the evening, come home and feel like that was memorable and worthwhile. And I made new friends.
And that's just another case of specificity being a gift. Because think about it. Somebody tells a chef, I want you to make a dinner. There's no direction. Somebody tells a chef, I want you to make a dinner inspired by the architectural history of the Tribune Tower in Chicago.
Did you see the video I posted of the course that blew my mind?
No, I need it.
Okay, so it was this Wagyu short rib, and everything was cooked, gorgeous, all the stuff. But laying over the top was a thin piece of paper that was a replica of the Chicago Tribune the day after the Great Chicago Fire.
Oh my God.
And then he lit the paper on fire. So you had an actual fire on your plate burning over the meat, creating sort of this like earthy, ashy taste profile, but also burning in front of you. And so it was this very cool literal interpretation of this cataclysmic event in Chicago brought to life. And so, yes, it was artistry at its best. I want to give him credit. I think the chef's Instagram is Donald Duck Confit. He's kind of obsessed with ducks. And he has a pop-up series and he does these things. It was pretty spectacular. But yes, it was probably one of the most special and unique dinners I've ever attended.
Excellent Instagram handle, Chef Donald Duck Confit.
I'm going to fact check myself, but we're not following each other. And he made me an entirely gluten-free meal. So what a mensch.
Incredible. We'll link to him in the show notes. But this has been another episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. And this is a production by two friends, Rachel Gilman-Rachel and Jeana Anderson Cohen. I used friends instead of connections because I felt like DJ would like it better.
Yes.
Yep. You can follow us on Instagram using our full names or, follow us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you everywhere. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Ben Cleaver for editing this podcast. And thank you to DJ Blatner for being a guest on the podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.